about pro-poor professionalism in South Africa, they came up with this list, and now, as Monica will insist quite rightly, this is purely an exemplar of a set of capabilities that could be developed. But when I start to think about vocational education, training and capabilities, I think it's quite useful to use this as an example of what you could construct, taking the professional end of vocational. So what are the kind of things that people would value vocational education and training for? So I think that's the starting point that this work helps us to get towards. Then I think the work that, as say, Leslie and Aurora doing is very important here. In taking this further, Leslie's been using this notion of a capability to aspire in kind of early formulations of the thesis, and both trying to understand what vocational education and training might look from a capabilities perspective, and importantly, as Aurora was saying in her seminar a month or so ago, whenever that was, you've got to bring in some stuff, it seems, that's much more explicitly about social justice, more political economy in a sense in there to balance the capabilities. But capabilities looks like it might be an area that opens up certain possibilities. I think it starts us to think about what is it that's important, not just narrow economics and narrow employability. Who has a voice in this? Now, most of the research, by being economic or psychological, has come with a view of what counts and then come down to the learners and tested the learners in the sense against what the official view of what it is that matters. The capabilities approach comes much more from the bottom up and says, what do people imagine are the things that are important to them? So I think this is an area that's potentially quite important, but it's really early days in thinking about it in vocational. And it has this problem that capabilities, for me, has been a bit too nice and liberal and hasn't really got into the dirty end of kind of what work means. But I'd be very happy to explore that in the questions. Now, the second approach around well-being that's out there, which doesn't particularly attract me, but is quite powerful at the moment, is coming largely from the OECD. And it's much so if capabilities end of it is saying, ask people what they value, have a social dialogue to determine what they value, the OECD approach is much more positivistic. It's saying, what are the things that matter?